Well, today we're going to go out and build a fire by friction. It's really an important survival skill to know. So we'll go out and gather the materials. You're looking at a meadow vole nest. Makes a real good tinder bundle for a friction fire. This willow here is perfect for a friction fire here. It's dry, nice and straight. I could make my fireboard and my drill out of this. Even though I found some nice willows in here, some good friction fire making materials. I mean, you can tell it's a lot of dry stuff in here. The ground is all wet. You can see the ground is all wet. So what a guy wants to do is you want to take your materials and go find a dry site, preferably probably your campsite, to go ahead and carve out the materials that I need. Well, you can see we were down in the valley. That's where we got our materials for the bow drill, and we're going to go up into those pines, find some good shelter up there, and put it all together. Now, normally I would never pick a campsite like this, even though it's nice in here, because it's facing west, and the storms come out of the west usually, and it's not very protected here. So as you can see, even though it's kind of a rock face, somewhat protected, it's not protected from the storms coming from the west. But I'm not really trying to camp right now, so I'm looking for a place to camp on the east side, on the leeward side of the incoming weather systems. But I'm just going to be low drill fire, so we'll make do with this spot right here. Now I cut these willows from down by the creek, and I made sure that they're real dry, and I cut my my bow from the same tree, so it'll work out good. Now the first thing a guy wants to do is sight down the stick and find a good straight section, you know, to make the drill out of. So I'm going to do that with this staff here. Now I got my fireboard is going to be made out of this stick here. You can see it here. It's pretty good and pretty straight. It has a little bit of bend on it. This piece here I cut. You can see that it's perfectly straight. I'm going to use this make the drill out of this staff right here. And I'll probably make my handhold out of this remainder piece of wood. Okay, now what a person's going to want to do is split this staff here into one of your fireboards. So I'm going to split it right down the middle. what you do is you just wedge your knife down through it, but you always want to cut away from yourself, never towards yourself. It's too risky. If a person cuts yourself out in a survival condition, it really decreases your chances. There. So now what I got is a split. Split's got two pieces here, and I'll make my fireboard out of one of them. Actually, what a guy could do is make a handhold. That'd be perfect to make a handhold out of one of these pieces too. See, what I'm doing here is I'm cutting this flat on the top side. See, the bottom side is right here, and I'm shaving this off. And a fireboard like this, all a guy has to do is take and figure out where your drill is going to be, and then you'd make a little indentation here. I'll show you what I'm. I have a short little indentation now, a shallow little indentation right there. I don't know if you can see it. Got my knife blade right at the tip of it. There, you can see it better like that. That's where the end of my drill will go. Now what I did is I cut this piece off right here with my trusty old Swiss Army knife. So now I got a handhold, and now I'll make a little indentation right where my thumb is at to hold the drill in. Now when it comes to making the drill, the main important piece of the friction fire, I'm going to want to it's really fat right now. You can see how big it is. It's really fat, and it's too big. You want to whittle it down to about as big around as your thumb. So the best thing to do is to shave off each side at right angles to each other, therefore making a square dowel. You want to make a square dowel. That's the trick. You want to make a square dowel out of this piece rather than trying to carve it down into a round piece. I'll show you what I mean here. Now what you end up with, see, it's a lot easier to carve a square dowel than a round one, because all you do is just keep cutting each side at right angles, and then now all you gotta do is knock the corners off. See, if you turn it like this, you can see it's got a corner, each corner. All you do is shave the corners down, and I still have kept my perfectly straight piece. You can sight right down it. So when you get done, then you got a perfectly round dowel. It's a little trick. See, now what you got is a perfectly round dowel. I took all the corners off, and now it's about as big as round as my thumb, and it'll make a perfect drill. And what I'll do now is I'll cut down I'll sharpen both ends. The top end I'll sharpen kind of long and sharp, and the bottom I'll kind of make it like a pencil, kind of a blunt, sharp end. You'll see what I'm talking about. Now I got my my stick, my drill. I got it kind of bluntly sharpened on one end, and on the other end I got it longer and sharp. Now I'm going to lay that aside. This piece here, my handhold, you can see I made a little indentation right where my thumbnail is, and I'm going to press in the end that goes in that. I don't want to, because what you want to do is you want to compress the wood and make it harder than it actually is. See, what you do is you take this end and you stick it right in there. And then you compress it real tight. Now, I'm going to make a little fire pit right here. And you want to make sure you're real safe when you do this. You want to get all the pine needles away so they don't burn. So I'm going to get down to the dirt. Now I made myself a little fire pit, and normally I would even clean it better than this, but this will be good enough for a little fire, and then I'll put it out right away. And I got myself a little teepee, so when I get a flame I can feed it in there. I got some dried grasses down in there, and then I got some pine needles and then some sticks. So I'm going to get my shoelace. In a survival condition, a person can use your shoelace as the cordage for your bow. But if you're an avid survivor, you can make cordage out of certain materials like burdock and nettle. But I'm going to use my shoelace today. Well, I got my shoelace off and I got it tied on my bow, and that's going to work good. And another thing you can do too is all the shavings that are on the ground, all the shavings that are on the ground and stuff, you can use those, of course, to help you get your fire going once you get a flame. Now what I've done is I've made a little working area here. My fire and stuff where I'm going to carry my flame is going to be down there. And I can carry it that far, but I'm going to do my bow drill friction fire right up here. Now what I did is I got my bow drill and I put it in my fireboard, and I spun it back and forth, and so I could burn the little hole in there, and then I'll make my notch in it. Now you can see I cut the notch. I cut a notch in there that goes not to the center, but down a little ways from the edge. Now what you want to do is you want to stick your little piece of bark in there, or a little wood shaving, and position your notch so that your coal will build up on your little piece of shaving, and that way you can pick it up and put it in your tinder. You twist your drill. You twist your drill right in here, like that. What you want to do is you want to don't push down very hard at all, just kind of grind off some powder in there. You gradually add some more pressure when you get your notch starting to fill up with, you know, hot shavings, and then you gradually put more pressure at the last minute. I actually got too much of I had to hold down a little too much on there. Too much pressure on my handhold, because I need to carve my top part of my drill. Make it a little bit more narrow to fit in there. See, I want to show what it looks like when you grind too much off all at once. plus my notch. You can tell my notch wasn't quite deep enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust my notch a little bit. Now what I've done is I've adjusted my notch so it's a little better. Looks like I might have a coal this time. Notice how I put more pressure on the last minute there? Yep, I got a coal this time. See, smoking in there. See it smoking in there? I'm going to take that burning stuff and put it in my mouse nest that I found. Now what I've done is I've taken my little mouse nest and I put that coal in there, inside there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow it into a flame. Actually I'm carrying it back down to my fire pit here, and all you gotta do is just blow this into a flame and put it in my little teepee I built. The wind's pretty much blowing into a flame almost right now. There it goes, just as easy as pie. Now we got ourselves a fire by friction here. It's really important to know how to build a fire by friction, because that way a person can, in a survival condition, you can always get a fire going. You can't always depend on matches, because when matches get wet, of course we all know they don't work very good. And so a fire by friction is really the way to go. A person should practice until you can make a fire by friction no matter what kind of environment you're in, and it can save your life.